What's going on, guys? Today we are going to build a horizontal website using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Basically what this is, it's an interior design website which everybody can benefit from this, including beginners. Here's the home and the navbar, which the navbar is narrow and vertically. Also this brand name and this percentage are vertically as well. And this percentage is dynamic. When I start to scroll, we can see that it's changing. Also, this progress bar starts to fill when we are scrolling. Both are showing that how much of the page is scrolled. There is also an animated scroll on top right, which is showing that scrolling is horizontally. And about this text, as you can see, part of this text is red and the rest of it is black. And if you notice, you can see that half of these letters are red and the other half is black. I will show you how to do this, how to color a part of a text in this tutorial. And about the links, if I click on the hamburger menu, we can see this beautiful transition and the style which made it unique. There is also an overlay which I can click on it to close the navbar. Next section is about. There is an image on the right and some text on the left. The color of this progress title and the progress bar under it can change when they are over other elements. This helps to make them more visible this way. For the next section, there are some text on the left and right, and there is an image in the middle with the text over it. Notice that this text can move on a scroll. And also the color is changing when it's over the image, which is really cool. I personally love it, and I'm pretty sure that you can be very creative once you learn this technique that I'm going to teach you how to do this. Next, we have a vertical slider. The previous button is initially disabled when we are at the first slide, but I'll give you another option in case if you want to still keep it enabled. And when you are at the first slide, by clicking on this previous button, you can go to the last slide, like common sliders. There's also a beautiful animation for these buttons on hover. As you can see, when I hover on the button, a color comes from the left and goes straight to the right, like it passes. As I said, this slider is vertically. The images can change vertically and the text has a fade-in effect. Next we have this product which has a beautiful fade-in effect. This effect can run for most images. When I hover on the image, we can zoom in. And the next section is about architecture and design with some images. And last but not least is the contact section. If you are ready to create this beautiful website, let's jump right into it. Alright, let's get started. As far as the files and folders, all I've done just created some empty files. For example, this index.html, a stylus CSS, and app.js. And there are some images that I'm going to use for this project, which you can find them in the description. And I want to mention that all of these images are from pixels.com, which is an awesome website for free images. Okay, in the index.html, exclamation mark and tab, and I want to link the CSS, which is in the CSS folder, and stylus CSS, also a script, which is in the JS folder, and app.js. I add the defer, and for the title, it's Viva space. Now it's time to add links for the fonts and also icons. For the fonts, I used Google Fonts. And by the way, I want to keep this final version as a reference. Go to fonts.google.com. I want 3 different fonts. Let's search one by one. First one is Assistant. Select this one. I want 400, 500, 600, and also 700. And next one is dancing script for this one. I just want the 500, and last but not least is the play flare display. Select the first one and choose the regular 400, 500, 600 and 700. You can import it, but I want to use the link. Copy, paste it before the CSS, and for the icons I use Font Awesome. You can go to its website, which is fontawesome.com. You need to create an account, which is really easy to do. I'm not going to bore you with that. Once you create an account, it gives you a link. Just copy it and paste it here. And to continue, in the body, I want to wrap everything with a div, which is absolutely fine, or at least from my own research. I give it a class, which is main container, a header, and inside a nav with class of navbar, a span for our logo, and the name is Viva Space, a div for our hamburger menu, a div with class of bar, and paste it 2 more times. After this div, another one for the overlay, a UL with class name of overlay content, li, and inside an a tag with class of navlink. The first one navigates to the home, and text inside is also home. Copy this line and paste it 5 times. Next one is about. It's also about. Next one, projects. It also navigates to the projects. For the next one, products. Also products here, and it's design, which also navigates to the design. Oops. Okay, and last but not least is the contact, which the text is contact. After this div, but inside the nav tag, create another div with ID of a scroll, percentage, and the class, which is percentage. I need a span, and inside the span, just 0%. This percentage will be dynamic once we add the JavaScript for it. Alright, these are for the links, and let's get rid of this tab. This is the nav, and this is the percentage that I talked about earlier. Let's also create the home. I copy this paragraph. Outside the nav, I want an ID of home, a class of home, and another class which is horizontal, another div, and name the class home content, a p tag, that's why I'm going to paste the text that I already copied. I'm going to wrap the brand name with a span and set the class which is brand name, because I'm going to style it differently. And outside the home content, I want home img, image tag, which the source is img folder, home jpg, and the alternative text is home. We also need two more things inside the header, which are the animated scroll and also this progress bar. For animated scroll, outside the home img, I create another div which the class is scroll. All I need is h2, which the text is scroll. Now for the progress bar, outside this div, but inside the header, I create another div. The class name is progress bar wrapper. Inside, I want two more divs, which the first one is progress bar title. I want h2 here. Inside, I put the brand name, and the second div, name the class progress bar container. Here I want an empty div which is progress bar. Let's save, and I want to open it with live server extension. You can right click and click this one, or click this button. Okay, this is what we got so far, which is really ugly. We need to style it. Open the CSS file, and here I want to reset everything. So asterisk before and after, set the margin to 0 and also padding 0, box sizing, border box, for body, font family, assistant, for the fallback font, sans serif, background color, white, width 100%, also height 100%. For the UL, let's remove the bullet points. For date tags, remove the underline by setting the text decoration to none, and I want the color to be black. For the main container, set the display as flex and overflow hidden. Also for the main tag itself, which it doesn't exist yet in the HTML, but it will in a second, set the display to flex to have everything, all the contents and sections in a row. Justify content center, and align items also center. For the horizontal, min width 100 viewports width, and for the min height 100 viewports height. Now for the navbar, which I had a comment. Set the width to 50 pixels. Background color will be not background origin, but background color. Set to white. I need a border on the right, which is 1 pixel. Solid, and the color is black. Set the position to fixed. Top 0, left also 0. Height will be 100% and display it as flex. Change the flex direction into column. Justify content, center. Line items also center. Padding top and bottom 20 pixels, left and right 0, and set the z-index to 999. Let's save and see the changes. Okay, this is our nav. It's supposed to be on the side. Yeah, justify content, space between. My bad. Okay, good. This logo is outside the nav. I want to put it this way, vertically. So let's do that. Navbar logo. Set the font family to play for display, and for the fallback font it's serif. To show the text vertically, we need to set the writing mode to vertical LR. If I save, we can see that it's vertical now, but I don't want it this way. I want it to be like this. So we need to set the transform, rotate minus 180 degree. Save. Okay, good. And let's also change font size. It's a little small. Set the font size to 1.2 rem. Okay, better. Now for the UL inside the navbar, set the position to relative and display it as flex. Now target the li inside the UL. Set the position to absolute, top 0, left also 0. Set the height to 100%, transform, translate x, minus 100%, and add the transition to the transform 2 seconds is. Now we want to add a dynamic class which is opened, and this class will be added with JavaScript. ULLI, set the transform, translate x back to 0. So when this class is added, the links back to its initial position. To make it more clear, we set the transform to translate x minus 100% to put the links outside its container. So basically, we hide the links, and when we click on this hamburger icon, the links can be shown. I hope that makes sense. Now we want to style each link differently, because if we have a look at the final project, each link has a border at right and also at the bottom, except the last one. The background color is white, and the width and also the height of each one is different. So we need to do them differently. Let's do that. To do it a little bit quicker, instead of typing the navbar class, I want to select the nav tag and target the ULLI and ends of type, which the first one is 1. The first one, copy and paste it 4 times. this one is 2, 3, 4, and also 5. Set the background color to white, also border right 1 pixel, solid, and the color is 777. Copy and paste it, change the border right to border bottom. As I said, the last link doesn't have these borders, and that's the reason I didn't add it here. Okay, let's copy one of these and paste it here. For the first one, the width will be 13 VW. Set the height to 16.66 viewport height. I added these decimals to be more specific. For the z-index, first one is 600. Copy this part, for the second one, change the width to 26 and height will be 33.33. The index is 500. Third link will be 3 and the width 39 and the height will be 50. Also the index 400. Change this one to 4 width 52 viewport width and height 66.66 viewport height. Also for the z-index is 300. Next one for the width 65 and for the height 83.33 and set the z-index to 200. Now for the last link, paste it one more time and change this one to 6. Set the background color to white and the width 78 and the height 100 VH and the index will be 100. I want to change the background color on hover, so let's target a lie. Set the background color to EA495F and the transition, which is 0.5 seconds. I also want to change the color of links on hover, so this time you will ally a hover, set the color to white. For the overlay, set the width to 0, so initially we don't have any overlay. Height will be 100%, position fixed, top 0, left 50 pixels. Set the background color to RGBA 000 for the alpha 0.5 and set the z-index to 100. Overflow hidden and the transition, which is 0.5 seconds. For the overlay content and target the A, position will be absolute, bottom 30 pixels, copy and paste it for the right, add a padding of 8 pixels, font size 36 pixels, color 818181, display it as block, text align end, and transition 0.5 seconds. I want to change the color of links on hover, so overlay contents A, hover, color will be E5, E5, E5. Now for the hamburger icon, display it as flex, flex direction, row, justify content, center, align items also center. Set the width to 40 pixels and also the height. Change the cursor to pointer, and that's all I need for this one. Now for each line, which is hamburger, and the class for this one is bar, change the width to 100%, height will be 1 pixel, background color black, margin top and bottom 0, left and right 15.55 pixels. I want this hamburger menu vertically, so set the transform, rotate 90 degree. Also add the transition to all 0.3 seconds. Now I want to add the class dynamically, so something is wrong with the hamburger menu. Okay. This one, the margin on the sides should be negative. Okay, alright. When I click on this icon, I want to change it into a close icon, like this one. Let's make it happen. Hamburger and close, which will be added by JavaScript. Target the bar class, nth child, first one is 1. Transform, rotate, -45 degree, translate 6 pixels and also 6 pixels. And the transition, which is 0.3 seconds. Copy it and paste it 2 more times. For the second one, we don't want this transform and transition. We only want to change the opacity to 0 because this one doesn't need to be shown. And for the last one, which is 3, the rotate will be positive, and for the translate, first one is -6 pixels. Alright, let's save this one. The next one is this percentage. I want to show it vertically like the brand name. The class name is percentage. Writing mode is vertical LR. Transform, rotate -180 degree. Also set the height to 50 pixels. Target the span inside the percentage. Set the text orientation to mixed, and color, which will be black. Let's save to see the changes. Okay, nice. And now it's time to style this home part, and we need to set the display flex to be like this, and also set the width as you can see, some of the content is under this nav. We need to do a little calculation. Okay, I add a comment for the home. Home position will be relative. For the width, I want it to be 100 pW minus 50 pixels, which is the width of the navbar, and set the height to 100 pH. Display it as flex, justify content, space between, and line items center. Let's save and look at it one more time. Okay, as you can see, the image is too big. I need to set the flex basis for both sides to have an equal width. For the home content, set the flex basis to 50%. Also, home img flex basis to 50%. And for the image inside the home img, set the width to 100% of its container. Let's save. Okay, looks much better. Now we add a little margin to the left of this paragraph. Inside the home content, margin left 100 pixels. Also for the p tag inside the home content, I want to increase the font size to 2.5 rem and set the max width to 650 pixels. Let's see what we got so far. Okay, much better. Now for the color of this paragraph, I want to use gradient color, and I will show you how to color a part of this paragraph, which is really easy to do. Set the background to linear gradients. To right, the first color is EA 495F 26%, and the second one is black 26%. If I save, this is how it looks like for now, which 26% of this paragraph changed the color to almost pink or red, and the rest of it is black. It totally up to you if you want to change the color more or less. You just need to change the value. And for now, all I need to do is to get rid of this box to see the color only on the text. In order to do that, set the background clip to text, copy and paste it just at the WebKit. Also, WebKit text fill color to transparent. Save. Now it looks fine. Now we want to change the style of the brand name. I added right here. Set the font family to Playfair Display. For the fallback font, serif. Also set the font weight to 500 and save. Okay, nice. Now it's time to style this scroll. I want to add animation like this. The class name is scroll. Set the position to absolute. Top 40 pixels, right 90 pixels. And for the line, scroll after an empty content, position absolute, bottom 45%, left 60 pixels, width 75 pixels, height 2 pixels, background will be linear gradient, to left first color CCC 50%, second color black 50%, and also right. Set the background size 200%, 100%. We need to create an animation to fill this line. So keyframes, I set the name to scroll. On 0%, background position will be left. Copy and paste it 2 more times. Change the last one to 100%, and the second one will be 50%, but the background position for the second one is right. Let's add it here. Animation, which the name is scroll, 2 seconds, forwards, infinite. For the H2 inside the scroll, set the font size to 20 pixels and font weight 400. Save. Okay, looks good. Now it's time to style the progress bar. The class name for this one is progress bar wrapper. Set the position to fixed. From the bottom 55 pixels. Set the left to 50% to position it in the center. Text align, center, and z index 888. For the progress bar title, add a margin to the bottom 10 pixels. Transform, translate x minus 50%, z index 99. For the progress bar title H2, set the font family to Playfair Display serif, and set the font weight to 500. Progress bar container, width will be 150 pixels, height will be 2 pixels, background color 4E, 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 it's almost gray. Set the transform, translate x minus 50%, and z index, which is 99. Now I save it and this is our progress bar, which looks absolutely fine. Now we want to add one more thing to this progress bar. As you saw earlier in the final project, when we scroll and this progress bar is over the other elements, you can see the color can change. So let's do it. To make it happen, we need to add something to its parent, and that something is mix blend mode and set it to difference. Now for the title, set the color to white. It's really tricky to find the exact color that you want, so you have to play around with different colors until you find the one that suits you. Now the last one for this part is a progress bar. The width is initially 0, height will be 100%, background color CCC, and the transition for the width, which is 0.3 seconds, is in out. So it will be filled when we scroll the page. Let's save it for now. And to continue, we need to add some JavaScript for this nav to open the links, also to make this percentage dynamic, and also for this progress bar. So let's do that in our app.js. I'll add user strict, and the first thing that I want to do is to make the scrolling horizontally. I add a comment for horizontal scrolling. I want to select the main container which wraps everything in the body. I'll name it scroll container. Document.query selector, as you saw, I just typed it with D and Q because I have some shortcuts that I configured in the snippets. I want the main container class. I'll add an event listener to the scroll container, and that event is will. And another function which I add e or event as the parameter. The will event by default has an action for scrolling up or down that I want to prevent that by setting the prevent default to the event. Now for the scroll container, I access to the scroll left and add it with e dot delta y. This delta y is a vertical scrolling. When we scroll down, the amount is positive, and when we scroll up, the amount is negative. When we add it with a scroll left property, the scrolling becomes horizontally. So basically we made the horizontal scrolling with this line of code. Easy peasy. Since we don't have any other sections, I temporarily add some padding to the main container so we can see what exactly is happening. Some padding to the right, for example 50 RAM. It's just temporary. Okay, now I can scroll with wheel on the mouse. Okay, very good. Let's back to app.js. I want to toggle the overlay and also navbar. We need to select some classes. First one is hamburger by selecting the hamburger class. Copy and paste this line 2 more times. Next one is let's select it together. This one is overlay, and next one is the navbar. I need a function, we shall name it toggle navbar. It's an arrow function. For the hamburger, I want to class list to be toggle, and that class is close. For the navbar, class list, I want to toggle opens. We already set the style for these classes in the CSS. Now for the overlay, I want to change the style. I want to change the width conditionally. If navbar.classList.contains opened, I want to set the width to 100%, otherwise 0. Basically, when the navbar is open, the width of the overlay becomes 100%, which covers the whole page, and when the navbar is closed, there is no overlay because we set the overlay to 0 when the navbar is not open. For the hamburger icon, I want to add an event listener, and that event is click, and for the second argument, I want to pass the toggle navbar. Also for the overlay, I want an event listener, and that event is also click. I want an arrow function. Inside this function, I want to check if navbar.classList.contains opened. I want to call the toggle navbar. And to make it shorter, we can remove these curly braces for the if statement. Let's see if it works. If I click on the hamburger menu, we can see the links and also an overlay, and we can close it. Also, if I click on the overlay, we can close the navbar, which works perfectly. But there is a small issue here. If I click on any of these links on the white space, it also closes the navbar, which is not the behavior that I want. So to prevent that, for the navbar, I want to query selector all. I want to select all the LIs, and for each LI, add an event listener, which the event is click. I pass the event as a parameter. For the event, I want to access to stop propagation, which prevents any actions of the event. If I save and open the navbar again, if I click on any of them, it doesn't close the navbar. But of course, if I click on the hamburger icon, it closes the navbar, and also by clicking on the overlay. Great job. One thing that I noticed is the color of the links is not something that I want when I hover on them. This color is supposed to be white. Let's change it quickly. So and that's not what I want. That's the mistake that I made. It should be on the LI. Okay. Great job. Let's back to the app.js. Now I want to update the scrolling percentage and also the progress bar. I create a variable which I name it progress bar, and I want to select the progress bar class. I want a function that I name it update scroll percentage. I create a variable which I name it scroll width, and I want to do a little calculation and store in it. I want a scroll container dot scroll width minus scroll container client width. Basically, this calculates the total width of the scrollable content within the scroll container. We subtract the client width of the container from its scroll width to determine how much content is scrollable horizontally. I want another variable which I'll name it scroll left. I want to access the scroll left and store it in this variable, and another one which I'll name it percentage. Inside the parentheses I want a scroll left divided by a scroll width times 100, and I misspelled this one. Okay, let me make it more clear to you. In the previous line, by accessing to the scroll left, we basically retrieve the current scroll position, and in the next line we calculate the percentage of how far you've scrolled by dividing the current scroll position, which is the scroll left, by the total of scrollable width, which is a scroll width, and multiplying by 100. Now we want to access the content of this percentage, which is this one. If you remember, it's a span. I'll name this one scroll percentage element. Document.query selector, it's the ID is scroll percentage, and I want to target the span. After these variables, I want the scroll percentage element text content. I want it to be dynamic, so backticks, $, math.round. We want to round the percentage. Also add the percentage symbol after the curly braces. And for the progress bar, I want to change the width dynamically, so I want the backticks, $, and I put the percentage here, and after this curly braces, the percentage symbol. So we rounded the scroll percentage, then we set the width of the progress bar to this rounded percentage that shows how much is scrolled. Now outside this function, I want the scroll container, add an event listener, and the event is scroll, and I pass the update scroll percentage as an argument to it. So whenever we scroll, this function is called to update the scroll percentage and also the width of the progress bar. Now to finish this part, I want to add an event listener to the window, which the event is load, and another function. When the page is loaded, I want to call this function and also set the progress bar width initially to 0%. So once again, when the page is finished loading, this function is called to ensure that the scroll percentage and also the progress bar widths are set correctly. And we initially set the progress bar width to 0 when we hadn't scrolled yet. Let's save and test it. When the page is loaded, this percentage is initially 0. Also, the width of the progress bar is set to 0. But as soon as I start scrolling, we can see that this amount is changing, but the width of the progress bar is not changing. I probably messed something up. Let me check the progress bar. It seems to be okay, but let's refresh the page and see the console if we have an error. Okay. Something is wrong with the width. So, this one is not correct. This should be a style. Let's save it and give it a try. I start to scroll, and yes, it works as expected. Great job. Now for the About section. In the final project, we can see that we have some content on the left side and an image on the right. So back to the HTML. After this header, I want a main tag, and I comment the about. I want a section with ID of about and class of about, and another class which is horizontal. For the left side, about content. H3 inside I want two spans. The first one is about, and the second one has a class name of brand name, which I'll type with space. And to have a little space between these two spans, I'll type NBSP. And outside this H3, I want a P tag. I copy and paste the text. Let's just copy this part and paste it here. I'd like to wrap the brand name inside the span, which the class is brand name. Outside this div, I want another one, which is the class name of about img or about image. I want an image which the source is in the img folder, and it's the about.img. For alternative text, just about. Let's add a class which is fading. Save and see the result. Okay, it definitely needs some style. Let's do that. Before these keyframes, I comment about and select the class. I want to display it as flex, justify content space between, align items, center, and set the overflow to hidden. For the about content, add some padding to the left, 250 pixels. Target the H3 inside the about content at the margin to the bottom of 20 pixels. Also the span, change the font size to 40 pixels. And for the first span, I want to set the font weight to 400. For about contents P, width will be 500 pixels. Text align, justify, font size 20 pixels, and line height 2. For the about image, set the height to 100 VH, and the image inside the about image, set the width to 100% and height 100%, and object fields contain. For the fade in, set the opacity to 0, transform, translate X 20 pixels, transition, opacity 0.6 seconds, ease in out, copy this part, comma, transform 0.6 seconds, ease in out. And I want to add another class dynamically. So fade in is visible. Opacity will be 1, and transform, translate X back to 0. I temporarily comment this out to explain why I added this class name here. So in the final project, if I reload the page and start to scroll, we can see that this image fade in to the left, and that's the reason that I added this class name here. So I remove this comment. Since we have some more contents, I don't need this padding, which I temporarily added here. I remove that. So for our project, we can see that the style is exactly what I want. Okay, to show the image in the app.js, I want the fade in images, name this one fade in images or fade images, document.query selector all, because there will be more classes, more than one for all the images, so we definitely need the query selector all. And I want to select the fading class. I'm going to use intersection observer because I want to reach to a specific spot, or in other words, I want to scroll and reach these images to make them visible. In other words, if the images can be faded in when the page is loaded, it doesn't even make sense to write any code for that. So let's do that. I'll create a function, I'll name it handle intersection. It's an arrow function which takes 2 parameters. First one is entries and the second one is observer. The entries is an array of objects, which that object is intersection observer entry, and the observer is basically an instance of intersection observer. By the way, if you want to learn more about intersection observer, you can watch my previous tutorials that I explain in details. For the entries, for each, I set the entry as the parameter. I want to check if entry is intersecting. I want the entry dot target dot class list dot add is visible. Outside this function, I'll create a variable. I name it observer. I create a new instance of intersection observer, and inside the parentheses I pass the handle intersection function to it, and for the second argument I'll create an object, which this object is a configuration for the intersection observer. It has some properties. The first one for the key is root, and this root is the viewport for checking the visibility. I set it to null, which means the whole viewport is used. Another key is root margin, which is the margin around the element. I set it to 0 pixels, which means no margin. And for the threshold, the value is between 0 and 1. In this case, I set it to 0.2, which is actually a percentage, and in this case it's 20%. So based on this configuration, at least 20% of this section must be visible or intersect in order to make the images visible. If you set this threshold to 0.5, which is 50%, 50% of this section must be intersect in order to show the images. I hope that makes sense. Now we need to observe. So fade images dot for each, I want to loop through the images, and I have the observer here, and I want to observe the image. Let's save and see the result. So in our project, I start to scroll, and yes, this is our image that fading. Okay, fine. Something that I want to add is I want to unobserve the image, because at the moment it's not very obvious, but since we add more contents, it will be a problem. I want to unobserve the image because if we keep scrolling, if we had more contents on the right and back to this section, this image will be fade in and fade out continuously. I don't like it this way, so to prevent that, after this class, I want the observer dot unobserve entry dot target. One more thing that I want to cover is about navigation. If I try to navigate, for example, if I click on this about link, it navigates to the about section, but it's too fast. Like you can see, it suddenly navigate to another section. I don't want it this way. I want the navigation to be smooth. So let's do that here, or maybe it makes more sense to add it here. For the smooth navigation, const nav links, I want to select all the nav link classes. Each link has this class name, or at least it should have. Yes, the classes are here. Nav links dot for each, link, I want to add an event listener, and that event is click, and I pass the event as a parameter here, e.prevent default. I create a variable, I name it target ID. I want a link dot get attribute, and that attribute is href for the links, and I want to or maybe it's better to explain it better before I substring it. Let's see in the console the target ID. Okay, I open the console and click on one of these links. We can see the about that this is the href that we want. I want to use the substring method to remove this hash. So let's do that here. Remove this console log. Instead, I want a substring method, and I add the one here to remove the hash. And if you want to see the difference, I log it again in the console. I click on this and there is no hash here. Okay, I remove the console log. Instead, I create a variable, name it target section document dot get element by ID, and I want to get the target ID, and I want to check if target section, if the section exists, target section dot scroll into view, and inside the parentheses I want an object. It has some properties. For the first one, the key is the behavior, and the value I want to say to smooth, and for the second one, the key of the property is block, and for the value I want it to be at the start, so it's at the start of the section. And the last thing, I want to check another if statement inside this statement. If navbar dot class list dot contains opened, I want to call the toggle navbar function. You can also get rid of these curly braces to make it shorter and save. Let's give it a try. If I try to navigate to the about section, now we can see that it's smooth, and also when I click, the navbar close. Okay, great job. Next section is for the projects, this part. Back to HTML. Outside this section, I add a command for the projects. I want a section with ID of projects and also a class of projects. A div with text class name. Inside this one, I want 3 divs. The first one, the class name is top. Inside, I want a p tag, which I'm going to copy the paragraph and paste it here. For the next div, the class name is top left. There is an image here which the source is in the image folder, and it's modern.jpg. For alternative text, just modern. And next to this image, I want a span inside. Type when br tag and copy and paste it 3 times. Modern meets minimalist. I don't want a br for the last one. Outside this div, I want another one with class name of bottom. I want a p tag here, which the text is here. I copy and paste it here. After this div, I want another one for the slider. The class name will be a slider container. A div for the slider, and inside a div for the slide. Inside there is an image container. Image, the source is in the image folder. It's slide 1. Next to this one, I want a content container. I want 2 classes. The first one is content and the next one is visible. I want h2. The heading for the first slide is effortless, minimalist, and after that a p tag. Let's copy this one. Paste it here. Now copy the slide and paste it 2 more times. Change the images. This one is slide 2. Also the alternative text, and for the heading I want this one. Okay, copy this part and paste it here. For the third slide, the image is slide 3. Also change this one. I want the heading and this paragraph. Now outside the slide, create a div which the class name is slider buttons. I want a span. It has an ID which is slider number, and also a class which is also a slider number. I leave it empty because I want to show the slide numbers dynamically. Next to this span, create a div which is buttons wrapper. The first button, the ID is prev button, and the class which is a slider button. Inside the buttons, I want these icons. So for these icons, go to fontawesome.com. Go to the search and type for arrow, the one that I want. Let's actually filter them. And the icon is arrow right long. Select this and copy. I don't want it anymore. Inside the button, it's actually the first button, it should be left. For the second button, copy it and paste. Instead of left, I want right. Also change the ID to next button. Save. This is absolutely bad. We need to style it. Go to styles. Right above the keyframes, I add the comments for the projects. Select the class name. Position will be relative. Display as flex. I want the gap to be 40 pixels. Some padding to the right, 15 rem. For the text, it's also display as flex. Align items center. I want column gap 10 rem. Also padding 10 rem. For the P inside the text, set the width to 300 pixels. Font size will be 1.7 rem and color set to 555. Now I want to style each paragraph differently. Like here, which the left side is at the bottom and the right side is at the top. First one is text, div. I want the first child and I want to target the P. Transform, translate Y, 150 pixels. Copy this one, paste it here. Instead of first child, it's last child, and translate Y, it's negative 150 pixels. Now for the text, top left, position is relative, and the image inside the text, set the width to 260 pixels. For the span, position will be absolute. Top minus 95 pixels, left minus 20 pixels. Increase the font size to 4 rem. Set the z-index to 888. Now for this span, as you can see in the final project, I want to change the color when it's over the image. So to do that, set the mix balance mode to difference and set the color to white. Let's scroll down a little bit. For the slider container, set the position to relative, width will be 100%, height will be 100 VH, and set the overflow to hidden. We can save and see the changes so far. Okay, this is for the left side, which looks good. For this slider, we need to add more styles. For the slider, set the width to 100% and height 100%. Display it as flex and change the flex direction to column. And last but not least is the transition for the transform. 0.5 seconds is in out. Now for the slides, set the width to 100% and also height to 100%. Display it as flex and set the gap to 80 pixels. For the image inside the image container, height will be 100 VH and object width contain. Now for the content container, display it as flex. Flex direction will be column. Justify content will be center. Transform translate y minus 80 pixels. For the content, set the width to 550 pixels. Opacity is initially 0. Transform translate x minus 10 pixels. Transition to opacity 2 seconds, is in out. Copy this part, and for the transform, paste it here. I misspelled the transform. Oops. Okay, for the heading inside the content, I want some margin at bottom, which is 15 pixels. For the p tag, increase the font size to 1.7 rem. Next one is visible. Set the opacity to 1 and transform translate x back to 0. For the slider number, a margin at top, which is 150 pixels, and font size will be 20 pixels. A slider buttons, position will be absolute. From the bottom 160 pixels and from the right 50 pixels. Display it as flex and align them in the center. For the buttons wrapper, some margin to the left, which is 20 pixels. Display it as flex and gap will be 20 pixels. It might be a little too much for this gap, set it to 10. Now for the buttons, background color will be transparent. I don't want any border. Increase the font size to 30 pixels. Margin from the top will be 150 pixels, and the cursor will be pointer. For the icons inside the slider button, position will be relative, background color transparent. Set the color to black. I want the border, which is 1 pixel solid, and the color of the border is black. I want it to be in a circle shape, so border radius 50%. Some padding, top and bottom 5 pixels, left and right 8 pixels. For these icons, inside the buttons, I want to create this animation, but before then let's add some more style. Set the background size to 200%, 100%, background position 100%, 0. Let's copy this one. For the transition, background position, I want 0.5 seconds, is in out, and for the color 0.5 seconds is in out. For the slider button, when it's disabled, set the cursor to not allowed. You can copy this line and paste it here. I want to target the icon. When the button is disabled, set the background color to CCC and color set to 888. Also add an important to make sure that it works. And we don't want any border. Let's create the animation. I created it after this one. Add sign, keyframe. I name this one flash color. At 0%, I want the background position to 50%, 0, and the color will be black. We can copy it, paste it 2 more times. For the third one, it's 100%. The background position is 0, 50%, the color is black. For the second one, when it's at 50%, the background position will be 0, 0, which the color is EA 495F. Let's add this animation to the slider button on hover when it's not disabled, and I want to target the icon. Animation, the name is flash color, 1 second, linear, forwards. Okay, let's see the results. Okay, the icons can change the color, and this is the style for the slide. The buttons definitely don't work until we add some logic to the slider. Go to app.js. And first I want to add some logic for this text so it can move on a scroll. I add a comment for that. Move text on a scroll. Let's select elements. The first one, I'll name it project section document.query selector. It's an ID projects. Next one, I'll name it move span since it's a span, and I want to select the top left. I want to target the span. I'll add a style to it. So transition, transform 0.5 seconds is. I want to use intersection observer one more time. So for the configuration options, I'll name it observer options. For the root, I'll set it to null. Root margin, set it to 0 pixels. And threshold 0.5, which is 50%. I create a variable, name it section observer. I create a new instance of intersection observer, set the entries as a parameter, and for the entries array, for each entry, if entry dot is intersecting, move span dot style dot transform translate x minus 30 pixels. Copy this line, else paste it here, set it back to 0 pixels or just 0. And here pass the observer options as a second argument. What we want to observe is the section observer, and we want to observe the project section. Okay, let's have a look. When I scroll and intersect with this section, yes, we can move this text. Very nice. Okay, now for the slider. We need to select the elements. First one is a slider, which the class name is a slider. Copy this line and paste it 5 times. This one should be a slide. Second one is prev button. It's an ID. This one is next button. It's also ID. This one is a slider number. It's a class. It also has an ID with the same name, which I'd rather to use the ID here. And for the last one, name it content containers. It should be query selector all, which the class is content. I set another variable with let for our current index and set it to 0. It's for the current slide. You can name it current slide if you want, but since we assigned 0 to it, it makes more sense to name it current index. But it's totally up to you if you want to name it current index or current slide or whatever. Anyways, I want to create two functions for the buttons, which the first one is next slide, current index. I want to increment it by 1 modulus operand slide dot length. Since it's more than one slide, it's better to name it slides. Okay, this function is for the next button that I will add an event listener and pass this function as an argument to it. But before then, I want to explain how it works. What it does, it basically increment the current index by 1, and this modulus operand, I don't know why I keep saying that, it's actually modulus operator, it's not an operand. Anyways, this operator ensures that if the current index exceeds the number of slides, it wraps back to 0. I want another function for the previous slide. I'll name this one prev slide. Current index. This time I decrement it by 1 and add it with slides dot length. Module operator slides dot length. This time we decrement the current index by 1, and the modulus operator with a slides length ensures that current index or current slide wraps to the last slide when navigating backward from the first slide. I'm giving you this explanation because you might not want to disable the buttons and still want to work it manually if you're at the last slide or the first slide, which I'm not intending to do that. Now for each buttons, now I want to add the events to the buttons. First one is next button, add event listener. The event is click, and I want to pass the next slide. Copy and paste it. Change the next button to prev, and we pass the previous slide function to it. We need another function. I'll name it update slider. Add a style to the slider, and the style is transform. I want it to be dynamic. Use backticks. Translate y inside the parentheses minus $sign and curly braces at the current index times 100, and don't forget to add the percentage here. And for the content containers, for each I want two parameters, which the first one is container and the second one is index. Container dot class list dot toggle visible index equal to current index. We style the transform for the translate in the y-axis, and we toggle the visible class to show the correct content of each slide. Now we need to call this update slider for each function of the buttons. Now I add an event listener to the window. We already did that, but I want to do it separately here. That event is load. I want to call the update slider here. So when the page is loaded, the slider shows the correct slide. Let's save. Here's our slider. It's not visible yet, but it will in a second. Okay, something is wrong. There's no error here. Okay. The images didn't change vertically. Something is wrong with this style. I did something wrong. And that's it. We shouldn't subtract it. We multiply by 100. Save it and give it a try. Okay, it still doesn't work. We don't have any error. Okay guys, I paused the video to find the problems and fix them. Apparently I made two mistakes, which the first one is for the slides. I already mentioned that it's more than one slide, but I thought it's query selector all, which it wasn't. It was query selector. It should be query selector all. And in the index.html, the buttons are inside the slider, which are not supposed to be. Make sure to put them outside the slider. With these changes, let's reload the page and see if a slider works correctly. Okay, the slider is working, and if you are at the first slide, if I click on the previous button, we can navigate to the last slide, and in the last slide, if I click on the next button, we can go to the first slide. Okay, good. That was the mistakes that I made. I apologize about that. Now I want to disable the buttons and show the slider number. So here, prev button dot disabled, set it to true, because initially when we are at the first slide, the previous button is disabled. Now inside the update slider function, I want the prev button dot disabled. I want it to be disabled if the current index is equal to 0, and for the next button dot disabled if current index is equal to slides dot length -1. So if we are at the last slide, the next button is disabled. If we are at the first slide, the previous button is disabled. And for the slider number, create a function. I'll name it update slider number. A slider number dot text content. I want it to be dynamic. I use backticks, $. Inside the curly braces, current index increments by 1, because it's initially 0, the current index. I want it to be 1 /$, and inside the curly braces, a slides dot length. And for the last part, we need to call the update slider number here. Let's save it. The previous button is disabled, which is correct. This is the next slide, and this is the last slide. We also have the slider numbers. Okay, good job. To continue our work, we need to create the next section, which is this product section. Let's back to the HTML. Outside this section, I add the comments for the products. I want the section with ID of products, two class names. The first one is products and the second one is horizontal. I want a div with the class name of title wrapper, h2 with class name of title, the text is products, and I want an icon which I copy this one here. Outside this div I want another one with class name of image row. Inside this div I want another one which I named the class figure container. It's a figure tag. There is an image inside it which is in the image folder. The first one is product one, and for the alternative text is products one. Also add the class of fade in. After this image there is a fig caption. The first one is furniture. Copy this figure container and paste it 4 times. This one is product 2. Change the fig caption to wardrobe. Next one is product 3. Change it to door. It's product 4. And the fig caption for this is wash basin. And the last one, which is product 5, the fig caption is cabinet. If you have a look at the content, it definitely looks horrible because the images are too big. Okay, let's style it without wasting any time. Before these keyframes, I'll comment the products and select this. Set the position to relative. Display it as flex. Justify content center. Align items also center. I want a column gap which is 50 pixels. For the title wrapper, I want to align text to the end and set the color to 666. And for the H2 in the title wrapper and also the fig caption, set the color to 666 and set the font weight to 400. And for the title wrapper H2, I want to increase the font size to 40 pixels. Target the icon inside the title wrapper. Set the font size to 35 pixels. For the title itself, increase the font size to 24 pixels. Some margin to the bottom. 20 pixels. For the image row, display it as flex, set the gap to 20 pixels. Image row figure container, set the position to relative. Also for the image row and the figure, set the width to 230 pixels and set the height to 330 pixels. And overflow hidden. Now for the image row and image on hover, I want to set the transform scale to 1.2. And the image itself, set the width to 100% and also height 100%. Add the transition to the transform 0.5 seconds easing. And last but not least is the fig caption, which the position is absolute, from the left 0, bottom minus 25 pixels, and set the font size to 18 pixels. Okay, save. I reload the page and this is how it looks like, which is totally alright. Great job. Let's create the next section, which is this architecture and design. Go to index.html. Outside this section, add the comments of our architecture and design, a section with ID of design and the class name of design, and another one which is horizontal. I want a title wrapper, h2 with title class, the text is architecture, add a BR to go to the next line. The rest of the text is and design. Don't forget to add this icon next to the h2. Here I want a grid class. I want a figure with class of item 1. I need an image. This one is stairs. Also add a class of fade in. Next to the image, add a fig caption. For the first one, I copy this text and paste it. Copy this figure, paste it 2 more times. For the second one, item 2, the image name is kitchen. Let's copy this text and replace it here. And the third one is item 3, which the image is living room. And copy this one. Okay, save it and go to the CSS file. After this one, I'll add the comments, which is architecture and design. Select the class, display it as flex. Set the justify content to center and align items to center. I want a column gap of 50 pixels. For the grid, I want to display it as grid. For grid template columns, 1FR, gap will be 20 pixels, and the line items center. Target the image inside the grid. Set the width to 100% of its container. For the item 1, grid area, row 1, column 1, I want to span 2 rows and span 1 column. Let's copy this one, paste it 2 more times. For item 2, change the column to 2 and span 1 row. For the item 3, row 2, column 2, each one span 1. Target the image of the item 1. Set the max height to 87 VH. For the item 2 image and also item 3, set the max height for both to 40 VH. Save. Back to the project and navigate to the design. Okay, it's horrible. Let's check the style. These grid areas were okay, but this shouldn't be align items, it's align content. Save and have a look again. Okay, this one is misspelled. Let's check again. Okay, looks great. The last section is the contact. Back to the HTML. After the last section, I add the comment for that. I want a section which the ID is contact and the class name is also contact, and another one for horizontal. A title wrapper, h3, the class is title. I want to expand the first one, the text is contact, and second span as the class, which the name is brand name, and the brand name is of course BY space. To have a little space between two spans, I'll type ampersand and BSP. I need the arrow icon, which I copy this one, and after the heading I paste it. Also I copy this one and paste it here. The text is BY space group and the class name styled text. After this div I want another one, which the class name is contact content. I need h3 heading. The text is address. After that I want a span that I'm going to copy it. It's a fake address. Paste. After this one another h3. Phone number, another span, some random number, 555 123 45 67. Another heading for the email. It's an A tag, href mail to, a fake email, contact @viva space.com. Copy this email and paste it inside the A tag. After this I want another div for the icons, an A tag, it doesn't go anywhere, and for the icon go to the fontawesome.com. The first icon is Instagram, so let's search for this. I'll copy this one, paste it here. I'll copy this line and paste it 4 times. Second one is Facebook. Third one YouTube. Next one is LinkedIn, and the last one is Pinterest. Okay, let's see how it looks. Okay, this is it for now. To style it, go to Style CSS, right above the keyframes. I'll add the comments for contact and select the class. The style for this class is the same as previous section, so to avoid duplication, I'll add the contact class here. I'll change it to a styled text, display as block, font family, dancing, script, cursive, change the color to EA 495F, font size 40 pixels, font weight 700, text transform lowercase. For the contacts, content h3, set the color to 666, font weight bold, contact content spam, color is 666, font size 20 pixels, a little margin, at bottom 1.2 rem. For the contact content, all the diary children, display as block, margin bottom 10 pixels, and contact icons, display as flakes, align items center, column gap 20 pixels, and font size 20 pixels. And for the last one, for the icons itself, set the color to 333. Let's save and have a look. Okay, great. I need to change two things. I want this part in the next line, and I also need to change the font size for this link. And as you can see, something is wrong with this link. The cursor is changing to a hand pointer. I need to set the width for this because it seems to take a lot of space that is not necessary. Let's back to HTML. For the address, I'll add a BR tag here. For this email, I'll add a class which is email. I style it separately right above the icons, contact, email. I'll set the width to 200 pixels, and I'll add this style to email. Let's check it one more time. Now it looks much better, and the cursor only changed to a hand pointer when we hover over the link. In case if you wonder why the cursor was changing into a hand pointer when we were not hovering over the link, to avoid any confusion, I set a background color to this email class, just a light color, and I comment this width. Now we can see that this link took the whole width, and when I hover on the white space, the cursor changed to a hand pointer, which is not necessary. To remove this width that is extra, I can set the width to 200 pixels. The width is enough for this link. I remove this background color, I don't need it, and I switch the tab in the app.js. I want to do a little cleanup. Since we already added this event to the window, I want to remove it. So I take the update slider and remove this part. And here I paste it. And one more thing, which is this function. I also want to add it here, update a slider number, just to make sure that when the page is loaded, we have the correct slider number. And one more thing, which is the last thing to do, I want to move all the elements to the top. I'll add a comment for that. Elements. Let's move this one. Also this. Cut the nav links. Paste it here. To make it easier to find, I'll highlight the query selector. Cut this from here. And move it to the top. Also this one. And these two. Also all of this. This one is a variable. Okay, nothing left here. Let's save and reload the page to make sure that everything works correctly. This is our links. Okay, nice. This is the slider. Okay, good. Well done. And that's it for this project. I hope you learned some stuff and enjoyed it. I hope to see you with another project. Thanks for watching.